Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about something that is more relevant to your career development and your future jobs. Today I'm going to talk about the 5 things you need to bear in mind before even submitting your law firm application or training contract applications in the first place. Many people experience this. They keep submitting different kinds of applications and they keep getting loads of rejections. It happens all the time, and sometimes you need to take a step back and actually think carefully about what you should do. So the first thing you need to bear in mind is ask yourself this question: have you actually ever interacted with any people in the firm you're applying to, or at least have you attended any sort of events that is related to that particular firm? I think this is one of the most important questions you need to know, especially if you're applying for a job in the UK for a big law firm. In the UK, it is common for firms to look for reasons or to look for evidence that you are actually interested in that particular law firm. But how can you show that? It's difficult, isn't it? It's better for you not to use any cliche answers because law firms read thousands of applications. So one of the key elements for your application is to actually interact with the people there, or at least attend some of the events they organized. This is very important because it conveys your true interest in that particular firm. And you can even use that experience in various parts of your application. Firstly, you can use your experience in your cover letter. Whenever you write your cover letter, it's always good for you to pinpoint that particular experience. For example, you can say something like, I was intrigued by the practice area strengths at this firm after attending its open day on this particular day where I talked to this specific associate or lawyer. He mentioned something about the firm's practice area strengths in maybe real estate, merger acquisition, M&A, private equity. It will massively help you with your application if you could actually convey a story or convey a message based on your experiences. Second of all, you can even use those career events or like any kind of interaction you had in the work experience session. It is an interesting point because you would say, how can an open day or a networking event be a work experience? However, considering that many applicants, they are not really people with a lot of work experiences anyway, it's good for you to even mention career-related events that you actually interact with the people at the firm, or you learn something new about a firm that could not be otherwise, obtained online. In that session, I would probably write 100 words. The kind of people I met in the open day, what kind of information like diversity initiatives I learned of, or the kind of transactions I learned about the firm, or also the kind of like training programs I heard from the attorneys or the lawyers there that I didn't know before. I think those specific examples and evidence can really help your application stand out, especially if you have a standalone section about that firm and about the interaction. And you can only do that in the work experience session most of the time. And other than that, some of you may attend multiple open days. You may attend open days at other competing law firms as well. Should you mention that experience? Definitely. You don't necessarily need to mention all of them, like in different sections, but you can group all of them all together in the work experience session and mention, for example, you attend 10 other open days or 5 other open days at different law firms. Firstly, it showcases your real understanding of law firms in this area, London specifically, because you actually have the passion to attend so many events to understand the industry better. Maybe you can also even point out some of the differences you spot between this particular firm and the other firms where you also attended their open days. Nowadays, because of the current situation, there are even more virtual events or virtual internships at those law firms. You could also take advantage of those experiences and include them in your cover letter and work experience session as well. Secondly, you should take a more proactive step and actually reach out to the trainees through other even social media platforms or LinkedIn. It will help you with your application in many ways. First of all, if you are one of those people who never attend any events organized by the firm you want to apply to, The only way you can get those extra information or resources about a firm is to interact with the people there, online at least. In the past, when I applied for training contract at different law firms, due to my visa condition and also the fact that I wasn't familiar with the law firms in the UK, the method I used was to reach out to some of the current trainees or lawyers at those firms. Ask them questions like, why do they actually join the firms? Why does this firm attract them? That kind of questions. You can actually get some really useful answers to help you answer, for example, why this firm question in the application form. Because those people, they experience the application process, they actually work at the firm as well. So they know why this firm is better than other firms. Although like not all people are gonna respond to your message on these social media platforms. So the strategy you should use is to actually find people that are of similar backgrounds or interests like you. For example, because I'm an international student, right? In the past, when I messaged someone, I actually found people who might also come from a more international background, so that they can resonate with my story and they would be more willing to help in that case, because they also know that I didn't just find a random person to reach out to, because that's what most people do, which is not very respectful sometimes, because I feel like when you reach out to people, at least you need to do the basic research and understand that person's background. You actually do your homework before even asking them questions. And it is pretty easy because if you have social media, you have LinkedIn account, you can do that anytime you want. So why don't you leverage this opportunity to help you succeed? So this is the second point. The third thing I think you need to bear in mind before even submitting your application is that you need to organize the work experiences you had. You need to gather your thoughts. You need to write a mind map detailing all the past experiences you had. And one of the benefits of doing that is that you could actually have a very clear idea of what kind of skills you learned from all these experiences, so that you can clearly explain those skills when you put it in writing in the application form. Because very often people have so many different experiences. Sometimes it's kind of pointless if you mention so many different experiences but end up they demonstrate pretty much the same skill, and it will be just kind of redundant from the recruiter's perspective. So you need to be clear what you want to say for each experiences, and you can know that by actually writing a mind map. What worked for me was that I try to keep the works to maybe 100 works for each work experience I had, so that I keep them concise at the same time. I remember there was one time when I drafted one of my application, I probably mentioned like 18 different experiences, including some volunteer like positions. I ended up getting rejected as well. Right now when I think about it, it was probably because of the fact that I put so many experiences that are kind of repetitive in terms of the kind of skills I learned. And especially the recruiter has to read thousands of applications, and you couldn't provide them with a really precise summary of the skills you learn or the experiences you had, then it would definitely put your application at a disadvantage. In fact, in the past, I even have applications progress to another stage where I just put 4 work experiences literally. But I showcase all the skills I learned from all those 4 different experiences very concisely. So be careful of the kind of work experiences you want to put. I think writing a mind map definitely helps for that purpose. So this is my third point. So the fourth point is that you need to research deeper and actually select a firm that really suits you and your background to increase your chances of success. I just want to mention that sometimes you get rejected not because you have a poor CV or you have a poor application. It could be the fact that the firm just is not in a position to accept you. For example, based on my experience, I have an international background. It doesn't make sense for me to apply to smaller law firms that, for example, couldn't sponsor my visa. It actually makes more sense for me to apply to Magic Circle firms, Silver Circle firms, bigger US law firms that have a more diverse intake of trainees. The first category of law firms that you may not necessarily have to apply are those firms that have a very few places for trainees. I just want to clarify, those firms are really good firms as well, and they could have excellent training. But the fact that they only have, say, maybe 4 to 10 trainees each year means that your chances of success will be lower. If you're not even applying to their vacation scheme, you want to apply for a direct training contract position at those firms. It's even harder because imagine they already have very few places, and they probably reserve most of the places for their vacation schemers. How many places could they actually offer you, if you apply directly for training contract? I remember when I applied for training contract, I looked at every law firms, including the percentage of international people they take. You probably can acquire that information by looking at website, for example, Legal Cheat. I remember I looked at the session about the allocations of the trainees, like how many people went to Russell Group's university, how many people went to non-Russell Group's university, how many people went to Osbridge, how many people came from an international background. I think that will be helpful for you to actually determine at least to what extent would they possibly look at candidates like you favorably. In the past, I even used the career service website, and they actually even provide a ratio, for example, like how many percentage of candidates a law firm take from their vacation schemers and how many are from the direct training contract applicants. I even use that as a determinant of whether I should apply to these firms because I want to apply for a direct training contract. Of course, its statistics is not like 100% true all the time. I mean, you may still have chances at other firms, but it's just good for you to actually gather all the information you need to do your research to select the firms that you have the highest chance to succeed. So the final point I want to make is that you need to understand your weakness before submitting an application. For some people, their problem is not actually about the application itself. They may draft really good application forms already, but they actually failed after the interview stage. Actually, the first time I submitted some of my applications, I was lucky enough to get progress to the next stage. And later on in the second round of application, I changed a little bit, about the way I draft my application, and I failed miserably. So for you, if you already submitted applications before and you got progressed to the next stages, it probably means that you draft your application pretty well, so that you wouldn't need to change that much in relation to the way you draft it. But the problem could be the next assessment. So in that case, what you need to do is to improve your assessment performance rather than to improve the way you draft your application. For me, honestly, I felt like the assessment centers or the interviews were probably some of the most difficult parts of the whole process. For those who have troubles drafting your application and your application has never been progressed to the next stage, definitely work on your application. Ask your friends or some other people to help you review your application forms. Even you may need to use some paid services in order to review your application. Those are necessary if you really want to improve your applications, then just go for it. That's why the key of the final point is that you need to know your weakness and work on that and focus on that. I think that will increase your overall chances of success. So guys, this is basically the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this whole session. You'll also check out my previous 2 videos. I didn't actually post them on LinkedIn because the content may be a bit different, but I make a video about a day in a life as a future trainee solicitor in London during the lockdown period. You may want to watch this video. Like this video, comment down below. I want to interact with some of you guys to know about your background as well, or at what stage are you in? Are you in London? Are you in other parts of the world? Also turn on the notification button so that every time I post a video you got a notification. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys again in the next video.